think, yeah, and you know, we talk about koinmul games and stuff like that,
Yeah.
and like, yeah, it's true. It's hard to get into a koinmul game. Like, I mean, it's easy if you're part of the koinmul. Like, if you're still doing DP motions, which we are since 1991, that's a
Yeah.
koinmul skill, right? That's like
For those who don't know what koinmul
yeah.
is, it's a Korean term for still
still
water.
water. Yeah, like
Yeah.
like yeah.
Those who play the game competitively since then until now. So people like who play ST.
Yeah,
Until
who
now.
basically people who just have been playing the game for so long that it's impossible to compete with them.
Yeah. People like Boss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like in CVS 2, like it's just
Yeah.
like
People still
you're so
hone-
behind.
Honing something that's already outdated.
Yeah.
But they honed it so well that you cannot like not respect them. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Well, I think the moment I really realized that was trying to learn Brood War, because I had never like played Brood War in any competitive capacity. I never. I played at LAN parties with my friends 2v2, and we had scrubby no rush rules.
Right.
No rushing for 5 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever. And I never played that in any competitive sense. And then I had Tasteless try to like show me build orders and stuff with Protoss, and like
Right.
it took me like 64 games to win one.
And
And I think the other person just kind of like gave up or something. They were just like walked away because he had
Yeah.
to like get his pizza delivery or something.
Right.
I don't even know, but it's like it's like, yeah, a game like that is if you've been playing since 1999 or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, how are you gonna compete with these people, especially in Korea where people grew up in like playing this in high school. That was
Yeah.
like the activity, after school activity that everyone did. Like, it's like that game is so and so like, but the issue with that game is there's no like one thing you can do to make it like accessible for everybody.
Yeah,
right. With
yeah.
RTS, it's like in fighting games, you can kind of point to motion inputs as like a thing, even though we all know that that's not the only thing. But in RTS, it's like, where do you start, right?
Yeah.
It's like in StarCraft 2, they made it so that you can select as many units as you want,
Right.
instead of just 12,
12.
because that was like a mechanical skill that
Yeah.
I think Day 9 had talked about how there's a satisfaction to learning the mechanical skill of grouping in 12s.
That's like you
Right.
diving deep into the technological limitations, but then you're blending in your human thought process to streamline something that was technically impossible to do, but
Yeah.
you overcome it, right? With
Yeah.
your human imagination. Similar to fighting games, like a difference between 고인물 player and a top pro player is the top pro players will adapt on the fly if something new happens.
Yeah.
But for the 고인물s, nothing is new. They
Yeah.
know. They just know.
Yeah.
The 고인물 difference is that they will use a dragon punch for not just to anti-air, but they would use it to dodge something.
Yeah.
That's like you do like a crouching sweep motion. They would whiff a DP on purpose and then punish you after because they recover faster. That's what a 고인물 is.
Yeah.
Even in StarCraft, if I were to give you one example, is this I only knew recently, right? If a siege, you know what a siege tank is at least, right?
Yeah,
Siege
of
tank
course.
is when you mount your siege
One of
tank.
my favorite units.
Yeah, in your cannon mode, so that it shoots in
Yeah.
a longer distance and it has a splash damage.
Yeah.
But 고인물 players know the frames of if you placed a siege tank on the left side where your opponent is on the right, the siege tank by default mounts its cannon to the northwest direction
Yeah.
on the first mount. And then they would have to turn their cannon X amount of frames towards the right side, towards the east side of the direction.
What?
They would know how long that will take to shoot at a certain target.
Yes.
And then it doesn't, because the splash damage never hits the middle of the target. It's at the front of the target, and then there's a percentage base of splash damage. They know all this.
Yeah.
I'm talking nonsense, but 고인물 players know this to know how to and where to fire exact trajectory of their siege tank.
Yeah, and all of it's going to be instinctive, right?
Yeah.
They're not going to be, if you ask them like, do you know how many like milliseconds it takes for the siege
they wouldn't
tank
give
to
you
change
the
direction.
actual
They wouldn't
numbers.
know.
Yeah.
It's funny because like kind of reminds me of like there's like there's like Koinmul like players in Tekken, which they're it is a legacy game, even though the newer games have lots of crazy things going on. It's still very much like you have like these little bits of micro knowledge,
Yeah.
right? And it's interesting. You have someone like a Anakin who's very much not like a frame data based player.
Yeah.
But he knows the frame data it's in his brain
In his own timing.
but it's not the way he thinks about it, right? I'm sure because so many players talk about frames and stuff, like oh, that's -11, you could have gotten like a little punish there or whatever. It's he probably knows like that the clear frame data that makes a big difference, whether something is -14 or 15, that makes a big difference between if it's launch punishable or not. But yeah, just like the when you see an attack, you see an animation, and you can kind of instinctively tell what the frames might be on that. Those are things that just take a lot of experience, and it's funny because I've been, my experience with Tekken is I'm not an OG player. I went in on Tekken 7 and coming as a 2D player, and I was just like learning this stuff from scratch, getting bodied, and it finally got to the point where like I'm like, I'm kind of getting the game after like a year, like that, like the why people enjoy Tekken, right? And I'm like, oh, okay, this is actually pretty sick. But then a lot of the knowledge that I'd gained during the year of playing and streaming is you start to know what a mid is. Like you start to know mids and highs, and like before you're just kind of like, oh, that's a mid, like that doesn't look like a mid, right? But then like just by the animation you can kind of tell, like I mean some people it's kind of clear they did that kind of gut punch animation, that's like a mid clearly, but not every character's thing is like a mid, like or a mid high attack.
Sure.
Like Xiao Hai's like a back 4-4 in Tekken 7.
Xiao Yu.
Or Xiao
Hai.
Yu. Sorry, man. I've been
yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
We've all been there.
Yeah. Xiao Hai for DLC in Tekken
oh
8.
damn.
Yeah.
Will Xiao Hai ever play a 3D game? Ooh, we'll never know.
I will have to see.
Xiao Yu's which movie is this?
It's a back 4-4. I think I don't know in Tekken 8. I think they removed it or changed that move.
Is that the little heel kick thing?
It's a mid kick and then a high kick, right?
Right.
But the thing is, like, I think in the older Tekkens it was worse. It just looked like two mid kicks, but the second one was like higher. And the thing is, like that move, if it was two mids, it'd be kind of busted.
Right.
So it has to be mid high so that that you can duck the second one and launch it. And the players who don't know that, you can just abuse that. Back 4-4 just constantly. And I use that, like I'll play ranked and I'll use that move on players who just didn't know that to duck on the second one, and they'll just be blocking it, right? And yeah, and it's long range and it's busted if you don't know about the second property. So like I think the Koima players, like the ones that have been playing long enough, they just instinctively know that that's a mid high, and they understand the mechanics and rules of the game too, to the point where they know that they wouldn't have a mid attack like that in the game. They just wouldn't do that. So they know that can't be the case. It's the same thing with Street Fighter. You know that there's like if you're used to overheads, right? You know that there's no like 3-frame overhead move.
Yeah.
Like I mean, I guess except for like the instant overhead from the jumping or whatever. That's kind of like a hacky way of doing it. But like, there's not going to be a built-in, 3-frame overhead move in Street Fighter. And if there was, it would be a huge deal, right? And everybody would be freaking out about it. But if you don't know about Street Fighter or overheads or anything like that, how would you know that would be an absurd thing to be in the game, right? So. And of course, we're used to 2D games, so we know that an overhead move looks like something that kind of hits downward, right? So if you're learning new to fight against a new character, and you see kind of a slower startup move that hits downwards, you kind of know that's an overhead.
Overhead, yeah.
I bet you, like with the amount of Street Fighter experience that you have and me, if we were to play Street Fighter 7 and there's a brand new character that we didn't know, or Street Fighter 6, I guess we can just say DLC character.
Even the current game, yeah.
Even the current game. If we saw this brand new character that's never been in the lore do a slow startup attack that's kind of looks like it's going to go downwards or whatever,
if something,
we're going to instinctively try to stand up and block it. Even though
just
it's
by
a completely
judging
new
by
character.
the motion.
Yeah, the motion, right? Because there's something coded in there that we know in our brains that just comes from playing the game over and over again.
And transition into other fighting games too.
Yeah.
We will feel similarly for other moves that are kind of in that direction, going from up to down.
Yeah. And it's just a thing that's that you pick up on, and I think a lot of games have that. And I
that's
think in
the
StarCraft,
Koimul in us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's
we
in our
just
blood.
kind of feel it. It's like, oh, that's gonna be blocking my head, so I'm gonna stand up.
Yeah,
Automatic coded.
Yeah, it's an automatic thing. Like, and if you've been playing Street Fighter 2, you know that if you block high, a jump in, you want to crouch block next, right? So, because there might be a low move that comes out next, right? So that's just in our DNA. And so, I guess this kind of conversation about like old school and new school has gotten kind of derailed. But
it's fine because I think, people would expect people like Tokido, Daigo, even in Tekken like Ni, Chanel, like they are technically the Koimul players of that scene.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's not the same as just honing that one single game, because they are continuously trying to get better in the newer iterations of their games, which is like a new challenge for them.
Yeah.
So there's no real comparison to say a certain Koimul player will come and destroy everybody unless you are playing that game specifically. That's why, like CVS2, ST, you would randomly have some a Japanese player in their business suits come to America and just body everyone. That has happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess Boss is kind of a living proof in that, and he's very enjoying even the current era of the modern FGC game era.
Yeah.
Because he knows how to host or participate in these side tournaments, which is for his game, CVS2. And in his recent interview on Evo channel, he continues to hone and play these games because if he doesn't become active in the scene, he's afraid that the game will eventually die out. So there's another purpose in being a Koimul, and as well as nurturing the community, where Boss is kind of, the host and also a participant at the same time of that scene, and everybody in the North American scene kind of appreciates that. In this CEO, other than Boss, MOV came down to play Third Strike, and in grand finals it was Justin Wong and MOV in Third Strike. It was really, really exciting to see. Third place, unfortunately, was my friend Arlaev. He tried going against Justin, and he's like, yeah, Justin's always Justin. He's just that player. And then he also played in the winners finals against MOV, and he's like, no matter how much he plays Third Strike, Arlaev is like he's the Koimul of Third Strike.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
But he's like, MOV is just a different beast, even for the Koimul.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And there are players like that who just invades our tournaments. And sometimes this era of modern fighting games, people who aren't Koimul are the new threats. The younger players like Blaz and Cryme, they came from South America, 14 and 15-year-old players.
Yeah.
Coming top 8 in CEO in the Street Fighter 6 amongst
second place at a Capcom Cup.
And there was players like Tokido, the Two Birds. There's Korean players, Japanese players.
Yeah.
And these young talent is doing really, really well. So it's another phenomenon we're experiencing, because that was, I would say, up until Street Fighter 4, that was impossible.
Yeah.
If you're a new player, even if you had the talent, there was a wall to climb.
Yeah.
But now something somehow has happened that the wall is, I wouldn't say the wall is easier, but everybody kind of gets same kind of starting point. Yeah,
Yeah. Well,
which is cool to see.
yeah. It's interesting to see because the criticism of older games is that they're because it's so 고인물,
Yeah.
to use the term again, it's just impossible to get in for new people, right? But the thing is, it's not that it's impossible. It's just that there's the thing you're fighting against is something that people have fought against for so long
Yeah.
that there's a way to do it that you need to learn it. You have to learn the same things that everyone else had to learn from ground up, right? And so, like if you look at like something like Melee, a game that just barely changes, right? Because it doesn't get updates anymore. There's still new
Yeah,
players
I
that
always
play
see
it.
new names.
Yeah.
And then I do a little bit of research. It's like, is this guy like he's been playing for ages? It's like, no, it's just a new player who
Yeah.
actually goes, somewhat neck and neck against players like Hungrybox
Yeah,
and still
yeah.
do really, really well. So
And you have players like in Marvel, MVC2. That's an old school game if there ever was one, right?
Yep.
But then there's still players that are like just perfecting the Magneto Infinites. And
Yeah.
just like they're just but they're new. They're like young, and it's like so there is that there are people who enjoy learning games like that
Right.
too, right? And so it's the topic of a Core gaming video,
Which is-
owners versus innovators, or
which is pretty
do that
cool.
to gamers. Yeah, so go check that out. But yeah,
On the ending note, yes, going to a major tournament in your own expenses can be rough for some, can be a dream for some, and could be a privilege for some as well. I do want to kind of mention never let go of your spirit and hopes and dreams of to say your practice and your work that you put in to get good in a game you like is wasted, because you should appreciate the amount of time you put in and the love you put in, and being able to show that in these major tournaments, and hopefully one day you learn more from these tournaments offline, where I know people will eventually face with those known players that you see on your streams all the time, eventually down the brackets, and it is not weird to get bodied by them. Sounds very tough, but it could be so different to where you've never experienced something in your online ranked matches. It could open a broader vision. Maybe it gives you an idea to come up with a strategy that you could you would have only learned if you came down to these events. And I've seen many stories from nearby players where they kind of go through this bit of a demoralizing timeline of certain someone tried to be or become a top player, but the journey of becoming a top player was such a steep hill to climb, and they kind of accepted their defeat, saying, the competitive force field they have to come across was such a big mountain to climb. But I believe I wouldn't say it's the right reason, but like if you look on the bright side, maybe you are kind of, say, this is just like an exaggerated example. Maybe you are also busy with your own battles that are outside of just getting good at the game. Say, for example, you're a head of the family. You have to work. You have to put in the obligatory work in order to put food on the table. Or maybe just realistically, you're not in the environment to enjoy something that you like, but you can still keep it as a hobby and enjoy this FGC activity as a whole.
Yeah, I think that's the healthiest way is, and I don't like. This hobby is kind of a. I don't like the term hobby for this because it's kind of it's something that you enjoy,
Yes.
that you develop your skill in, but it's something that that is also like it becomes a part of you
Yes.
if you learn the game and you study it and you see good players play. And I think it's I think yeah I think Book kind of said it best when I met Book
From
when
Thailand.
from
Yep.
Thailand, the Tekken player. When he had slumps, he would talk about like this is just not the right moment. It's
Yeah.
just I'm
there are
not
times for people.
yeah, but
Yeah.
you I like that he said that because it doesn't close off what could happen. You know, just it's always never shut the door on stuff.
Exactly, yes.
And just but it is wise to say like, you know, maybe not right now. And
But I definitely understand. It is a very hurtful feeling. I've been there too. I wanted to be a good player. I'm not gonna, hide my intentions in going to these tournaments, like, trying to do my best. It is a hurtful feeling to know that you've, say, tried for so long, or it may be this one offline event that you go to was is gonna be like your first or last because maybe you didn't have enough expenses. You had to save up for so long to come to this place for first time, and you don't have a known future of whether you'll be able to come back to these kind of events ever, right?
Yeah.
So some people try to make it their best in these tournaments, and for sure, like if you're a very competitive player, they technically don't get to enjoy these events. Because they just need to get that victory to get their talent out there. Otherwise, they can't really prove anything, right? Which I understand. It's a very, very tough time to spend all this travel and hotel money, and if you're not performing well, it can be very demoralizing. And I've heard some stories where that's how they kind of like end up not liking these kind of events and just end up staying home. As if they were to make not an excuse, but is if they were to make a comparison to say whether it's worth it.
Yeah, it's like a psychological.
But if they put like a monetary value on everything, it'll be very difficult to do anything in life. Like you do have to kind of.
You'll eventually turn to an investment banker if you just if your goal is to make. And it's fine if people want to make money and you go hustle, whatever.
Sure.
It's like you said, it's there's that balance of doing what you enjoy and making it work in your life. And this is why I think the advice of like follow your passion is very kind of misguided, because it's like
if the full stop is there after it says follow your passion, then it can be very dangerous to some.
Like follow your passion, but you also have to like make it work for you, right? Like it's like the
reason I do say this on an ending note is I do have to also let you know that at CEO I met a lot of people for the first time. They approach me and say, "Oh, hey, are you Burnout Fighter from Korea Gaming?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, like, hey, what's up?" Which is very thankful. Very
it happened at Evo Japan as well.
It was
before the match.
And then their story is, firstly, majority of them who approached me, who wanted to say hello to me and you, was that it was their first CEO and their first major tournament. And then I just asked, how was it? It's like they said, some of them said they were able to make it down because they watched your video.
Oh, wow.
And some of them actually went down that path of what I just explained in terms of they thought they were good, but they got demoralized really quickly when they joined their first online tournament. And then to find out that they weren't good enough. And then they eventually had the courage to come down to CEO. And they all said, that I'm going to definitely come down next year.
Oh, wow.
But that whole journey that they had, they kind of incorporated because they watched your recent video about Salt.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So I didn't ask, but they came up and said hello to me. They noticed my looks from a distance.
You're in the video too.
A lot.
And you're an actor.
Another thing was, out of the 4 events I went in that month span, I was lucky to be on stream for 3 of them.
Oh,
Yeah,
nice. Okay.
Which is very it's
very
like
cool. Yeah.
you don't really get to be on stream stage that
Yeah.
often, right?
Yeah.
Like unless you're like in like a top 32 or something like that, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But in pool stages, I was luckily enough to be in the stream setup,
Yeah.
and which is cool. Out of the 3,
Do you do well?
I won 2.
Okay.
So more
That's
than
a good record.
majority.
There, nice.
Funnily
nice.
enough, the Evo Japan one was a Dhalsim mirror match with Mr. Crimson.
Oh man.
That was very close, but yeah, Mr.
Oh, actually,
Crimson.
you know, before
I gotta give it to
before
him.
before we end this, we have to talk about this. This is gonna be on a short.
Okay.
So it's funny because we had done a podcast with Mr. Crimson.
Oh yeah.
And then you end up playing him at Evo Japan, right?
Yeah, what a coincidence.
Yeah. So I was watching that that whole thing go down. It's interesting because you'll be about to play a match at a pool.
Yeah.
And they'll just summon you. You want to be on stream? That's like they tap you on the shoulder. You want to be on stream, and then if you say yes, then it's like okay, they have to like put you in the queue for the stream.
Yeah.
And that takes a long time, right? Because I don't know, maybe it was just at that moment at that tournament, but I remember it took a while for you guys to finally play the match, but like there must have been like a build up that you were probably thinking a lot of like, oh, what am I gonna do? Like what's the strategy gonna be? Is he even gonna play Dhalsim?
Yeah.
Like and I remember in that match when you played, you got the first game.
Yeah.
And it was like pretty convincing. Like it was a solid first game. I don't know what was going on in your head, and then how did things fall apart later? Like I guess.
Mentally. The Dhalsim mirror.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, firstly, I just played like any other Dhalsim mirror match that I would experience when I play online ranked.
Yeah.
Luckily enough, Asia, like if you play in Korea or Japan, there's a bit of a Dhalsim population going on
okay.
in comparison to other countries. I asked Mr. Crimson himself later on, and also North American players, that you don't really see them.
Yeah.
Yeah, but at least in my MR, which is like 2000, there are a few Dhalsims that you will see more than the lower ranks.
Yeah.
Thankfully.
Yeah.
So I had some experience there, and then Dhalsim mirror matches is a funny one because it's never a traditional Street Fighter game. Everybody's teleporting around floating around, and you're fighting footsies from full screen.
Yeah.
That's not a common thing to do.
And you like do a whiff punch by like you teleport and then they did some kind of like fierce punch and then you can like land on them. Yeah.
And my excuse is that that I lost is my reactions was bad because if you're floating, you either end up, if you're teleporting as Dhalsim, you either end up in the front or the back of the character.
Yeah.
And then my anti-air button is back medium punch. And if I do a back medium punch, if they're not in front of me, it just becomes a medium punch.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is like the long stretchy arms.
Yeah.
And then I just expose myself.
Yeah.
And then if I didn't react whether he's in front or behind me. So that it just all came down to that, really. And Mr. Crimson knew that I'm a bad reaction player.
Oh, he just took advantage of that.
He exposed me real hard. It's
man.
this guy sucks at reacting.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. I'm sure he didn't think it that way, but his strategy worked.
Yeah.
Because my strategy was just wait, but I waited and reacted with the wrong button.
Okay.
Yeah, it was interesting because Dhalsim mirrors like. The funny thing is, even the commentators are confused. Like, what's going on?
Yeah, no, I don't really know what the
how they commentate.
I think only the
match.
Dhalsim players know, right? What's going on? Because it's like, and maybe sometimes they don't even know. But yeah, like you said, I guess he saw that you weren't reacting to a certain setup and just kept on using it. But that's what you got to do, I guess.
Dhalsims is funny because Dhalsim players, if they win, it feels like the opponent's stick is broken. Because they're not blocking anything.
Yeah.
And Dhalsims, when they lose, it seems like their stick is broken.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're like getting hit by everything. It's a weird matchup.
Interesting.
And I guess the final note is that a lot of people appreciate your videos. That's a very cool thing. Even when I was in Brussels,
that's cool.
I was approached by people that I've never seen. They really appreciate, and most of the people who approached me were the Patreons.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
wow,
the actual Patreon because they like the podcast.
Yeah.
More
interesting. Okay,
and the podcast viewers. So I guess you guys are listening to this right now.
Yeah,
it's thank you so much. I even had dinner with one of the persons in CEO.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Had a lot of conversation going on because he was going through some dark times, and
Yeah.
he watched your videos and kind of relieved him. So he
Really?
feels better now after
Wow.
watching your videos. So it's a really, really grateful thing to see.
Yeah.
A lot
yeah.
of viewers out there, and
That's amazing.
yeah, because they all approach me after seeing me on the big screen. Because if you're on stream, you're on the big screen
Yeah,
now, so they
everyone's
can
like,
see you from
"Oh,
a
it's
distance.
Burnout Fighter."
And it's like, oh, and they're like, oh, that guy's here. Okay, cool. And another thing is, I all entered the 4 tournaments with the Core A tag
Oh, okay.
as my team.
Thank you for repping
So
that. Yeah.
even if they didn't recognize my face, they would recognize the Core A tag.
yeah.
So I
they'll
kind
know
of,
for sure. Yeah.
out of 4 events,
Yeah.
I was advertising the channel
All right.
on the streams and in the venue
Okay.
with the Core A tag. So
Awesome. That's why
I did my
yeah.
job there. So
That's why
even if it wasn't a work travel, I put some work essentials in my travels
All right, got
by
some
being
promotion.
on streams. Yeah.
Sick. All right.
So
well,
that's
yeah.
the
Thanks.
plan, and
Yeah.
I'll be going to Evo Vegas too.
Oh yeah, I'll be
So
there as
if
well.
I get on stream for some sort of luck,
Yeah.
then I'm getting a lot of stream time this year. That's pretty cool. Yeah,
Good,
this
good.
never happened
Yeah.
before.
Okay. Well, if you can win
Yeah.
Evo, that'd be kind of cool, I guess.
Winning Evo,
It'd be a little
it's-
cool
It'll
if
take
you could
a
do
while,
it.
but
Yeah.
Alright.
With the Core A tag on
Like
there.
always, we try our best, and that's what I ask all of you to be yourself. Trying your best is the best form of who you are, I think.
Yes, I agree with that. And yeah, thank you for talking about your travels and everything. And I guess we went off onto a lot of tangents. Maybe you can break it apart into the most interesting points. But,
Hopefully, we can
yeah.
do some, if time allows and we're not too busy. It'd be cool to have some on-site content going on.
Yeah.
I've seen people, you know how American convention centers, they have a giant hallway, and there's
Yeah.
like, usually it's mainly for people lining up and stuff.
Yeah.
But whenever the lining up process is over, it's just an empty hallway, right?
Yeah,
And people walking by and stuff. People brought in their like podcast setups and set up there, and then would just ask people walking down, and it's like, that's a cool idea. So one day maybe we could do something like that if time allows.
Yeah.
See
Yeah.
how
Well,
it goes. Yeah.
yeah. Well, for this podcast, I think it was another successful one and the last one for
Oh, in this venue?
Venue.
Yeah.
So
We're gonna
yeah.
miss this, man.
miss this. We'll bring some of the stuff, some of the artwork and
Yes.
stuff over, but I think we'll have a different setup. But it should still sound really good, and it should look good.
I believe in our technological possibilities.
Yes. All right. All right. So yeah. Until next time. Bye.
Thank you very much.